Progressives have done a lot in this country to move the Overton window back to the left with regard to the healthcare discussion, and this is all in part thanks to Bernie Sanders just being a relentless advocate for Medicare for all. Now, we've won this discussion. I think we've monopolized political discourse when it comes to this issue, and now the American people are on our side. 70% of Americans overall back a Medicare for all system, and that includes 52% of Republicans. So, needless to say, I think we've won this battle. So now all that is needed is for Democrats to retake control of government and then give us what we want. Well, it's not that easy, because now that Democrats will be retaking control of the House, there's this new push by healthcare lobbyists teaming up with corporate Democrats to push back against any progress when it comes to this issue at all. They don't want Medicare for all, and they don't even want to allow more people to buy into Medicare. So they're gearing up for an all-out war with progressives on this issue. Now, for more on this, we go to Adam Cancerin of Politico, who reports deep-pocketed hospital insurance and other lobbies are plotting to crush progressives' hopes of expanding the government's role in healthcare once they take control of the House. The private sector interests, backed in some cases by key Obama administration and Hillary Clinton campaign alumni, are now focused on beating back another prospective healthcare overhaul, including plans that would allow people under 65 to buy into Medicare. This sets up a potentially brutal battle between establishment Democrats who want to preserve Obamacare and a new wave of progressive House Democrats who ran on single-payer healthcare. We know the insurance companies and the pharma companies are all putting tens of millions of dollars into trying to defeat us, said Representative Pramila Jayapal, who co-chairs the Medicare for All Congressional Caucus, which I take as a badge of honor that they're so concerned about a good policy that they're going to put so much money into trying to defeat it. The rift could come into full view in the opening weeks of the new Congress as the party, long bound by a need to defend the Affordable Care Act, tries to embrace a new healthcare vision it can carry into the 2020 presidential campaign. House Democratic leaders already are emphasizing the need to align behind a more pragmatic agenda focused on largely shoring up Obamacare without peering too far into the future. We want to continue promoting the idea of accessibility and improving the Affordable Care Act, said incoming Ways and Means Committee Chairman Richard Neal. That should be the primary goal that we have. It's a sentiment shared by the major lobbies that fought alongside Democrats against Obamacare repeal and now want to reap the benefits. These interest groups contend that after a decade of upheaval in healthcare, the public would prefer simple fixes that strengthen the ACA over a headlong rush into another dramatic overhaul of the system. Well, guess what? Those interest groups are dead wrong. The ACA was not a dramatic overhaul. That was incrementalism. It was by definition incrementalism. The boldest component of the Affordable Care Act, which was a public option, was not adopted. In fact, it was abandoned early on. So we already got your bullshit incrementalist approach, and it simply wasn't enough. So when they say, these interest groups specifically say that the public would prefer simple fixes, no, you don't get to just say what we prefer. Look at the fucking public opinion polls. 70% of Americans support Medicare for all. It is very clear, and that's just looking at polls. When you actually look at the grassroots enthusiasm behind this bill, I mean, I've never seen this much momentum for a single-payer healthcare system before. So you don't get to just say, this is what the American people want. They want a simple fix. No, we want a drastic change because our healthcare system is complete and utter garbage. And trying to convince us that our healthcare system only needs simple fixes shows how out of touch you are, because people in this country every single year die or go bankrupt because they don't have health insurance. And when I talk about that, I'm leaving out the people who end up not getting the treatment that they need if they have insurance, but their healthcare provider won't cover a particular procedure that they need, or they need to see a specific specialist or a doctor, but that individual is not in their network, so they can't see it and get the treatment that would otherwise be necessary. So our healthcare system is fundamentally broken and it needs to be reformed from top to bottom. The only feasible way of fixing our broken healthcare system is Medicare for all. Americans know this, and trying to convince lawmakers that we don't want Medicare for all and we want simple fixes, well, that's just flat out wrong. It's propaganda. It's corporate propaganda. It is the cries that we're hearing from dinosaurs, with dinosaurs being the health industry, the healthcare industry, the health insurance industry, knowing that they're going to go extinct. They see the asteroid coming, and now they're scrambling because they don't know what to do. So they're running to Democratic Party lawmakers and saying, oh, trust me, you don't want to do Medicare for all, trust me. It's not that I'm trying to protect our profits, it's that the American people don't actually want Medicare for all. Well, that's just bullshit. All you have to do to dispute that theory and really just debunk it flat out is talk to someone. Now, lobbyists are going to say this. That's not necessarily something that's surprising to me. What is infuriating to me is the individuals from the Democratic Party establishment that came from the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton campaign that are fighting alongside these insurance lobbyists. I mean, how disgusting is that? You're teaming up with the healthcare industry and presumably taking their money, which I think is blood money, and you're trying to fight against something that the American people want and the overwhelming majority of your own party want. I mean, how despicable of a human being do you have to be to do something like that? But look, the overall point of this article is that the establishment wants to crush progressives. That's not going to happen. They're not just going to crush progressives and we're going to shut up. This is going to be an all-out war because progressives are ready. We've been going to war with the Democratic Party establishment for the last couple of years, and if you think we're going to back down now, well, you've got another thing coming. So you need to acknowledge that if you choose to align with health industry lobbyists and healthcare professionals over the American people, you will end your career. We will expose you. We will demonstrate the link between you and the health industry. We will shine a light on the contributions you're taking, and it's going to be an all-out war. So if you truly want to wage this war against progressives, then gear the fuck up, because we're not backing down. So buckle up, because this is going to be a battle. But you're going to lose because we have an advantage that we didn't have a couple of years ago when we wouldn't even back down then. Now we have the American people on our side. So we have no reason to back down, and you have every reason to back down, with the exception of that profit margin for your CEOs. But that's not good enough. We're fighting a fight that's moral. And like every moral fight throughout history, be it the women's suffrage movement or the civil rights movement or the gay rights movement, it's a hard-fought battle. But guess what? We're prepared for that because this is a battle that's worthwhile. And it's not just healthcare. We're going to have to battle when it comes to climate change. We're going to have to battle on a plethora of issues because we are forced to work with centrist, neoliberal, pro-corporate Democrats because we live in a two-party system where the only other alternative is Republican Party extremists. But they're going to acquiesce and do what we want because we're done doing things their way because we've already tried that and it hasn't worked out too well.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.